All right, asante sana.
That debt has to go. 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 IMF, you're killing us. IMF, you're killing us. IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
Oh, gee.
In all accord and common bond united, build this our nation together, and the glory of Kenya, the fruit of our labor, fill every heart with thanksgiving.
All right, makofi kwa Tina. A big round of applause for Tina. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya. Okay, so we're gonna get started with our first speaker, but before we get started, it's very, very important to know why we are coming out here at the IMF building to protest, because a number of people are asking the question. This is a situation, it's an issue with the Kenyan president. Yes, we have an issue with the Kenyan president and a number of Kenyan leaders. So people were asking, why are we coming to the International Monetary Fund to protest? Let's remember the finance bill that was being rejected was an IMF-inspired finance bill, meaning IMF writes these prescriptions without considering what people in Kenya are thinking or what repercussions it's gonna have, and it results in a lot of poverty, a lot of jobs lost, a lot of manufacturing lost. So that's the reason why we are here, because unfortunately this IMF-inspired finance bill has led to more than 52 deaths. And I think, you know, like we need to start coming out with those pictures of the dead, because we need the IMF to understand that now they have blood on their hands. African countries have been complaining about this for a very, very long time, but now there's bloodshed involved. There was poverty, there was austerity measures, there was so many other things, but now I think for the first time there is blood, you know, like people were killed. We have people ranging from the ages of 12 to around 36 years old, young people being killed. So this is something that the IMF needs to understand. The message needs to go out there, and we need to make them know that they need to be culpable for these deaths, and they need to take care of these families of the people who passed away as a result of this finance bill. So we are still expecting people to come. Akenya eh? Yeah. Akenya. Akenya eh? Yeah. Wakenya mpo? Mpo? Do I have any DC people here? DC people in the building? Okay, is there any Virginia people in the building? Any Virginia people? Yeah. Watu wa Virginia, it seems there's no Virginia people in the building. Okay. Aya, sawa sawa. Any Maryland people in the building? Yeah, any Maryland people in the building? Okay, sawa sawa. We're gonna get started right away, and our first speaker of the day is gonna be Baraza. Baraza is an environmental and social justice organizer, and he's also previously run for parliament in Kenya. Baraza, karibu sana.
Can you hear me? So the way we know that the IMF knows that they are culpable, the way we know. So after this protest and street, quote unquote, defense of our national sovereignty spilled out into the streets of Kenya, the IMF remained loudly quiet. They remained very quiet, full knowing that they were the ones who were behind this protest. In fact, in May of 2024, they had warned the Kenya government. They had warned the Kenya government that this protest would happen. What they did not estimate was the extent to which it would affect the Kenyan people, but also how many Gen Zs particularly, our youth, our young, brave people, would come out to protest. Then we decided as a community to come out here to protest. The first thing we did was to put our press releases out, but also posters. Almost immediately, after one whole month of silence, this actually was within 12 hours, somewhere in this building, the spokesperson for the IMF then came out saying that, oh, now we sympathize with the people who are hurt. Now we sympathize with the Kenyans who are affected. Now we sympathize with the families. Now we are here to say we are partners with the Kenyan people and the Kenyan government. Are these our partners? Are they our partners or are they our oppressors? Are they our partners or are they our oppressors?
Oppressors.
Do we want them in our country or do we want them out?
Wow.
So we actually put out this statement, and I'll read it just so that we get a sense of, number one, why we know, not why we think, but why we know that these people are complicit. We released this statement on June 16th. I believe on June 17th we had a spokesperson from this building come out and try to sort of defend the IMF. Kenyans living in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia are holding a protest today at the International Monetary Fund headquarters to demand accountability for the deaths of 41 Kenyans. By the time of writing, we had 41, and now we know there are more than 50. And these are just the ones that are reported as official figures. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, have been injured during these protests, during IMF-backed austerity measures on Kenya. The peaceful protests have also led to forced disappearances and abductions of young Kenyans ranging from the age of 17 to 30. Social media influencers and activists by the Ruto regime with the complicit silence of the IMF. Kenyans are mourning the loss of our innocent lives, lost during these protests ignited by the IMF-backed Finance Bill 2024. We demand, say we demand.
We demand.
We demand.
We demand.
We demand that the IMF take full responsibility for the deaths of youth opposing their neo-colonial programs of death entrapment. These measures, instead of improving the lives of Kenyans, have exacerbated economic hardships and pushed many Kenyans to the brink. Furthermore, the excessive use of force against peaceful protesters and demonstrators reflect a callous disregard for human rights and democratic freedom, not just by the Ruto regime, but also by the IMF. We call it the IMF Ruto Axis. Say IMF Ruto Axis.
IMF Ruto Axis.
Kenyans in the diaspora condemn IMF's loud silence.
Loud.
We condemn the IMF's loud silence for more than 2 weeks and subsequent attempts to avoid responsibility for the plights of young Kenyans who are being assassinated, who are being abducted, and who are being held incommunicado for exercising their constitutional rights to protest and to picket and to present petitions to their government. We demand that the IMF take full financial responsibility for compensating and supporting the families of the more than 50 Kenyans who were murdered at the hands of their partner, the President of Kenya, Ruto, who was trying to implement their devastating policies. In May 2024, in May 2024, and this is how we know. The IMF, in fact, warned Ruto of the risk of civil unrest if the government proceeded to pass their own policies. I don't even call it the Finance Bill 2024 anymore. I call it the IMF Bill. Say IMF Bill.
IMF bill.
IMF Bill.
IMF bill.
This suggested that they had intelligence and they were aware by experience of the consequences of their policies. And we know they've done this not just in Kenya, but other parts of the world. Then, curiously, on July 11, 2024, the IMF, someone in this building, released a vague statement attempting to distance itself. Say boo. 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 They were trying to distance themselves from their policies, trying to distance themselves for the mayhem and killing that has gone on in Kenya. And we are here to tell them that they are responsible. Say, IMF is responsible.
IMF is responsible.
Because they knowingly and negligently instigated a civil conflict in Kenya. And this was only after the people who are standing here today announced their intention to protest here today. And we are here to tell the world that we know who was responsible for the deaths of the young people who we are representing here today. The people of Kenya are resolute in their determination to seek accountability and justice, and also to seek partners who can support them in pursuing legal redress for the victims of the Gen Z uprising against the IMF bill that was directly imposed on the Kenyan people by the IMF. How is that possible? Because in 2019, the US Supreme Court ruled that the IMF and the World Bank and other Bretton Woods institutions can be sued in US courts for their roles in supporting programs that cause destruction and harm to recipient communities globally. The IMF structural adjustment programs that originated the Ruto regime's IMF/Finance Bill 2024 are directly responsible for at least 50 deaths, hundreds of injuries, abductions, and destruction of billions of dollars worth of property in Kenya. We are here to say that the IMF bears ultimate responsibility for the dire economic decisions that have precipitated these protests. Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva!
Viva!
All right, asante sana, asante sana. Baraza, before you go, a real quick question. There's a lot of people maybe who are saying that it is Kenya that went to the IMF to borrow the money. So why are we out here blaming the IMF when the issue is with Kenya? What would you tell such people? There are people who are out there who are saying that. What would you tell such people?
I'll tell them that the IMF is what I would call a payday loan mortgage company. Predatory lender. A shark.
Shylock.
A Shylock. Any other words?
So they're waiting. So you're saying that they're kind of waiting to see, they're kind of waiting for you to come. They know when you come, you're kind of in distress. And before they lend you money, they tell you have to do this, this, and that first.
Yeah, so basically this organization is a bank. Shylock, a shark lender, payday loan agency. And what they essentially do is they go to low-income countries. You'll not find IMF loans, as pervasive in developed economies like the US, the UK, or the global North as you would find in the global South. They then go to our governments and say, for us to give you a loan, and this is exactly what a Shylock does. You have to meet a set of conditions. In the Kenya case, the conditions were that they have to meet revenue collection targets. The other part of that equation is that the IMF does not pursue policies to stop corruption. So they are giving this blank check to a corrupt regime that will then use that money in how it deems fit. Then shame. 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 Shame on them.
Shame.
They then give these loans with conditions saying, tax mama mbogas. Shame.
Shame.
Tax our young people's digital content. Shame. Tax our mothers who are going out to do small businesses.
Shame.
Tax bread.
Shame.
Free
Tax
lunch.
sanitary pads of all things.
Shame.
Tax toilet paper.
Shame.
Basically tax everything that the citizens need and use for their sustenance. Of course, what does this do? It leaves us in distress. And even here in the diaspora, what we realized was that they had said we tax also our diaspora remittances. The money that we send home to support our families. The money that we send home to support our communities. Kenya's economy, our second largest foreign income earner is our diaspora remittances. So this organization looks around and says, oh, that's where the money is. And then even more shameful, they budget corruption. Oh, apparently now the first lady has a budget. The second lady has a budget. The prime cabinet secretary's wife has a budget. Every governor's wife has a budget. Things that are unconstitutional. So of course it's a problem for us, and that's why we are here, to tell the IMF to do what? To stop and to get the heck out of our country.
All right. Asante sana. A big round of applause for Baraza. Big round of applause. Makofi tafadhali. Now take pictures. Make sure you upload these pictures and post them online. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Na msiogope kuja kukatika, msiogope kukatika, especially the young. Msiogope kuanguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo kuna pata dama posta. Mtu kwa hii basta. Anguka nayo ati, anguka nayo ati, anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo ati. What was it called again? A state dinner. They hosted him to a state dinner, and it was a very disgusting show of opulence that we unfortunately saw Kenyans, play a part in it. And of course now you see the payback has begun. Kenyan police are on the ground in Haiti in a blackface occupation. Ruto aende asiende? Atoke asitoke? Ashuke asishuke? Yes, so now we have our police in Haiti in harm's way in a blackface occupation on behalf of the US government, which is very unfortunate. And then you'll also remember when the finance bill was being debated, the very hot finance bill debate, there were 7 US Congress members who are in parliament during the debate. What were they doing there? We don't know. But they happened to be in parliament and they were recognized by the speaker, Moses Wetangula. Wetangula atoke asitoke? Ashuke asishuke? Akwende asikwende? Yes, so some of these are congresspersons, and we started a campaign of calling them. We need them to give an unredacted report because they were there to witness a bill being passed that resulted in the death of 53 people. So I'm going to start with the first one is Van Buchanan, Democrat from Florida. Atoke asitoke? Akwende asikwende? Ashuke asishuke? So if you know anyone from Florida, please tell them to Google Van Buchanan, call them, and as is our tradition as Kenyans, tunaenda afanye nini? Afanye nini? So yes, so the other one, unfortunately, a black person like us, her name is Gwen Moore. Gwen Moore is a Democrat from Wisconsin. Atoke asitoke, akwende asikwende, ashuke asishuke. So if you know any Kenyans in Wisconsin, or any of you can Google her name, find her number, find her social media handles, na afanye nini? Afanye nini? Afanye nini? Okay, so another Congress person here, also unfortunately black like us, you know, one of our cousins, they were there supervising the finance bill that resulted in the death of 53 Kenyans. Her name is Barbara Lee, Democrat from California. Atoke asitoke, akwende asikwende, ashuke asishuke. So you know what you need to do? You need to go online, find her name, find her email address, find her phone number, find her social media, and then you know what to do with the social media. Afanye nini? Afanye nini? Okay, and then we have another Congress person here. His name is Dan Kildee, Democrat from Michigan, was also in Congress during the debate of a finance bill that resulted in the death of 53 Kenyans. And you can see some of the pictures here, as young as 12 years old. And I think they need to bear responsibility for these deaths. We are at the IMF here, but this was a collusion between President Ruto, between some members of the US Congress and the International Monetary Fund, and now there's blood on the soil of Kenya. 53 Kenyans are dead. So another congressperson here, his name is Darren Lahoud. That's a Republican from Illinois. So this is bipartisan. It's not only Democrats, it's also Republicans. His name is Darren Lahoud. Akwende asikwende, atoke asitoke, ashuke asishuke. All right. And then we also have, and then of course remember, Google the name, find the number, and then mfanye nini? Afanye nini? Okay, and then we also have the other one we have is Neil Dunn, a Republican from Florida. My goodness, this Floridian, this is the second Floridian on this list. Neil Dunn was also in Congress when the finance bill was being debated, and they were recognized by Speaker Moses Wetangula. So all we are asking them is to release an unredacted report of what exactly they were doing in Kenya. Maybe they might have been randomly going to Masai Mara and then they decided, oh, wacha tupitie bunge, but they need to release an unredacted report to tell us what exactly they were doing in Kenya, because this finance bill now has blood on Kenyan soil. 53 Kenyans from as young as 12 years old have lost their lives because of this toxic finance bill that's coming from the International Monetary Fund in collusion with President Ruto, and we also saw US members of Congress. The other one is from Texas. We know we have a lot of Kenyans from Texas. The name is Jody Arrington, a Republican from Texas. Jody Arrington, atoke asitoke, akwende asikwende, ashuke asishuke. So you know, in our tradition as Kenyans, we'll find him on social media and then tufanye nini? Afanye nini? Asalimiwe. Okay, the other congressperson here, the name is Drew Ferguson, Republican from Georgia. Atoke asitoke, akwende asikwende, ashuke asishuke. Hey, kwani leo hamjakula breakfast? Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Okay, so another person who's culpable, but who hapa, I'm gonna tell you to stay tuned. There's another person who's culpable. You all know her. You all know who she is, but I'm first gonna give a chance to.
We are here to remind the IMF that the power is with the people, and that we are calling for sovereignty as a nation. We are not pleased by the policies that you are enacting in boardrooms and then implementing it in our nation, leading to social unrest and creating structural policies that end up hindering our economies. We are telling the IMF that we do not need money that is used to fund corruption in our countries. We need money if we need money, then it is for empowerment, it is for the betterment of our economy, it is for the betterment of the education. But when you give us money and then you give us revenue targets that require us to cut from Linda Mama initiatives, you require us to cut from educational programs. Then what is the use of the money if they are used to suppress our social programs? So, and in the same way, we want to call all this is possible. All that the IMF is doing is possible because we have a slacking government. So in the same manner, we want to call into account Mr. William Ruto to remind him that we do not want the policies of Kenyans to be enacted in foreign institutions. We want to look at our country, determine what we need and what we need to do as a people without any external influence. And we also want to remind him that when we protested and we said that we are rejecting the finance bill and we need the cabinet to be dissolved, what we meant is that we need cabinet secretaries who are competitive and who deliver the mandate of Kenyans. So we are telling the Kenyan president, when we say drain the swamp, we meant we want all the cabinet secretaries to go. We do not want the same people to be brought back into the same offices that they have failed. So what we are reminding the Kenyan president that we want competitive leaders, people who will deliver the mandates of the country, and people who understand the economic policies that we need to be enacted, so that external institutions like the IMF do not come in and dictate how we run our macro and micro policies in Kenya. And in that spirit, we say IMF must go and Ruto must go. Thank you. People power. People viva. IMF must go. Ruto must go. Thank you.
All right, asante sana, asante sana, asante sana Kevo. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Kwani hamkunywa breakfast leo? Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. All right, so I think all of you saw what happened yesterday. Now, starting with last week, the cabinet was dissolved, and then remember yesterday, the same people who had been dismissed have been reappointed. So we are back to square one, and more of them are going to be appointed next week. So I think we have a very serious problem in Kenya, and part of the reason why we are out here at the International Monetary Fund is because their policies, their IMF-inspired laws that they make African countries pass, including Kenya, the 2024 finance bill, now has blood on the soil. You know, people have complained about this, people have said it's brought poverty, it's brought this, but now there's blood on the floor. I think we saw on live TV Kenyans being shot by snipers who are trying to protect an IMF-inspired finance bill. IMF watoke wasitoke, washuke wasishuke, wakwende wasikwende. Yes, and then we are also not taking away the culpability of our president William Samoei Ruto, because this is a collusion relationship. For those who don't understand, what tends to happen is that the IMF will say, oh, we did not force any country to take loans. But they know once you're in a situation, you'll come to them, they will give you the money. They will say that this money is supposed to be used for development. But like Baraza said earlier here, they look the other side. They will not try to enforce how you spend that money. And that's the reason why we are seeing budgeted corruption. We are seeing unconstitutional offices like Office of the First Lady, Office of the First Lady, of the Second Lady of the Deputy President, Office of the, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. The wife also has an office. Each of them has almost $1 billion. Watoke wasitoke, wakwende wasikwende, washuke wasishuke. Yes, so we are also going to be issuing red cards, or in American lingo, we're gonna say yellow flags, because Americans, they use different sporting terminologies. We're gonna issue yellow flags, 15-yard penalties to certain Americans who've enabled President Ruto enforce these tax policies, these IMF-inspired tax policies that have resulted in 53 deaths, and we can see the pictures of the people who died from as young as 12 to as old as 39. So one of the people who we are gonna be issuing a red card today is the US ambassador to Kenya. Her name is Meg Whitman. Akwende asikwende? Atoke asitoke? Ashuke asishuke? Now here's the interesting thing about Ambassador Meg Whitman. Most of you already know her. She's a billionaire from California. She tried to run for governor in California and she failed. She's been a CEO of multiple companies, and all the different companies she touched have gone to dust. And now she's treating Kenya as a company. And notice one thing, from when these protests began and when blood was spilled on Kenyan soil, Meg Whitman is missing in action. She has not been seen. She has not said anything. Even the US Embassy in Nairobi has issued a statement and they have not released her name. Now there's a rumor somewhere saying that she was flown out as soon as, you know, like those snipers started shooting our children outside the parliament buildings. So Meg Whitman, atoke asitoke?
Atoke!
Akwende asikwende?
Akwende!
Ashuke asishuke?
Ashuke!
All right, we're gonna go to the next speaker now, and of course anyone who wants to speak, please let us know. Big round of applause for Netfa.
Thank you. My name is Nefa Freeman. I'm representing the Black Alliance for Peace. And we have a statement here that we issued at least maybe a couple weeks ago about the situation. I'm going to read it, and I might have a little ad-lib to it, maybe, to update, because it's been a minute. And it's a short statement. And our statement, the Africa team of the Black Alliance for Peace, and we also should say we have an organizing arm of a campaign that we have called US Out of Africa Shut Down AFRICOM, the US Africa Command. And that organizing arm is the US Out of Africa Network. So this statement was issued by the Africa team and the US Out of Africa Network of the Black Alliance for Peace. We say the responsibility for the Kenya crisis lies at the feet of US neocolonialism. The excessive support and public adoration the U.S. government has given to Kenya's President William Ruto represents the racist contempt this settler state has for all Africa and for the domestic population of descendants from the continent. 2 days before African Liberation Day on May 25th, and 1 month before the Kenyan police brutal crackdown on protests against the U.S. IMF-backed Finance Act that increases taxes of up to 35% on essential goods, the U.S. President Biden rolled out a red carpet for Ruto at a White House state dinner. The debt that this bill is supposed to address only exists because of the incessant and indiscriminate borrowing of the previous government of Kenya, in which Ruto was vice president. Ruto is a grade A lackey for U.S. interests, reminiscent of the dictator Mobutu of the Democratic Republic of Congo, then Zaire, who U.S. imperialism supported for 32 years in order to plunder the Congo, and now supports proxies to keep Congo destabilized, through Rwanda and Uganda. U.S. imperialism, praised as endearing and enduring, praised as an endearing and enduring democracy, the Ruto presidency, a puppet government that unleashed its notoriously vicious police to reportedly arrest more than 300 and kill as many as 53, and injure dozens of Kenyan citizens in the demonstrations over the past, now it's over the past few weeks. These police are the same force U.S. imperialism has maneuvered into being dispatched into Haiti to contain the people's resistance against imperialism in that Caribbean nation. An elevation in the parlance of U.S. statecraft is the paternalistic promise of granting Kenya the status of a major non-NATO ally, a role granted granted to the African Union's Africa Standby Force. This designation in sharp contrast to the Alliance of Sahel States, newly formed confederation, which is a declaration of self-determination. which is Declaration of Self-Determination. The Africa team of the Black Alliance for Peace and our organizing arm, US Out of Africa Network, stands in uncompromising solidarity with the masses of Kenyans fighting against the proposed finance bill in 2024. We denounce, in the strongest terms, the complicity of the US, especially its black misleaders in Congress, in passing this legislation. In fact, the day the bill was introduced, in the Kenyan Parliament, members of the US Congress were present, including Barbara Lee. Ruto must go. US Out of Africa. The Black Alliance for Peace and the US Out of Africa Network salute the courage and determination of the masses of youth throughout Kenya, the Generation Z. The blood spilled will not be in vain. Our martyrs are alive alongside the living. We stand unwaveringly with the Gen Z movement and our people of Kenya. No compromise, no retreat.
All right, a big hand for NETFA, a big hand, makofi tafadhali for NETFA, makofi tafadhali. All right, so I just want to reiterate, like a few things that he said here, because it's not only members of the US Congress who are culpable for these 53 deaths, it's not only the IMF, it goes all the way to the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, because you remember, a couple of weeks ago, maybe let me say it was like a month and a half, 2 months ago,
May 23rd.
there was a clownish parade here of Joe Biden's administration, whining and dining hundreds of members of Ruto's cabinet and of Ruto's government who came on taxpayers' money to be wined and dine in the White House. And of course you can see right now, Kenyan police are out in Haiti. They're out in the streets of Haiti. This has never happened before. This has never happened before, where Kenyan police, not even the military, Kenyan police who are killing innocent protesters on behalf of the IMF-inspired finance bill are now out in Haiti trying to fight the gangs there in what we call a new blackface occupation. They're of course there on the dime of an American. They're there on behalf of the Americans. And if you've seen some of the big videos coming from Haiti, you're seeing Kenyan police protecting Western interests, protecting US embassies. We have a problem with our US embassy in Nairobi. They've been denying visas to Kenyans. They've been overcharging them and not giving them visas. And we have an ambassador who's been missing in action since Kenyans started being killed. Yet she was the biggest cheerleader of this administration. If we go back to 2022, when the election was still being disputed, the first official to say that the election was free and fair was Meg Whitman, and she's missing in action. Meg, atoke asitoke? Atoke. Ashuke asishuke? Ashuke. Akwende asikwende? Akwende. All right, so we have a couple of other speakers coming in. Let me just confirm the
When I say Kenya first, say IMF last. Kenya first. 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 IMF last. When I say with Kenyan Gen Z, you say we rise. With Kenyan Gen Z. 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 We rise. Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Africa, viva! Viva! Viva Africa, viva! Viva! Viva Africa, viva! Viva! complicity. Silence. 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 Wamama oye. Wamama oye. IMF chini. IMF chini. Kenya juu. Kenya juu. Asanteni.
All right. Asante sana Bawaza. So we're gonna wanataka urudie. Hebu rudia mara moja, turudia mara moja. Come again. DJ, come again.
Vijana power. Vijana power. Vijana power. IMF chini. IMF chini. Nikisema IMF nasema IMF chini. Chini kabisa. IMF chini. Chini kabisa. IMF chini. Chini kabisa. Kenya juu. Juu kabisa. Kenya juu. Juu Eta. Viva Kenya, viva. Rest in peace our heroes. Rest in peace our heroes. Rest in peace our heroes. Vijana hoye. Vijana hoye. Vijana hoye. Mama mwa.
All right, asante sana. Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Asante, thank you. You know, I came because you all called. But I came as an individual just to support. Did not intend to make a speech. And then my sisters kept saying, okay, would you like to say something? Okay, would you like to say something? So I am honored to be able to stand in solidarity with you, representing Africans rising for justice, peace, and dignity. We are a network on the continent and in the diaspora committed to dignity for African peoples wherever they are on this planet. And we stand in solidarity with you in Kenya as well as here today in Washington, D.C. Where are we?
In Washington.
Where are we?
DC.
Where are we?
Washington, DC.
We come here in the belly of the beast. Across the street from us is the World Bank. Right behind us, right here, is the International Monetary Fund. These international financial institutions have crippled our continent, have crippled Africans throughout the world. Why? To ease the exploitation of our resources. Because from the days of the slave trade to the days now, it is about the theft of resources from African soil to fuel a global economy that renders us invisible. But we are here today, and those 53 of our kin were there to say, not on our watch. What are we here to say? Not on our watch. What are we here to say?
Not on our watch.
These institutions have said no as we try to build an economy that works to feed our people, where our young children have jobs when they complete their schools, where schooling is free, as was in the constitutions of so many of our countries in the 60s. But yet slowly, the privatization of education, the privatization of healthcare, the privatization of telecommunications and all essential services, because of the IMF, because of the World Bank, but also our governments that have been complicit in letting them do their bidding. So we have to say no. So we come together today to stand in solidarity, led by our young leaders. And I was so thrilled to come around the corner and see all our young children here today. Thank you to all the parents. Thank you to all the children. We know there are many things you could be doing, and you chose to be here. Thank you. Asante sana. Asante sana. We are here because of you. And we say, shame to all those names that you read of those on Capitol Hill who were complicit, to all those in the administration who were complicit. We say shame. We say what? Shame. We say what? Shame. And we stand in solidarity to work for a liberated Africa, for a liberated people, wherever we are on this planet, till justice is served for all. May our martyrs rest in peace, and may their memories continue to inspire us to march on from today and all the days and months and years to come. Let's stand together in solidarity. Forward ever, backwards never. Forward ever,
Backwards never.
forward ever,
Backwards never.
Makofi tafadhali to Ms. Amira Woods. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. African countries, I am sure they have contacted you and they're asking you what is going on in Kenya and how can we start this in our own country, because these policies I've always asked the question, give me one country in Africa whose IMF's prescriptions have worked, just one. And remember, with Kenya, this toxic relationship with the International Monetary Fund started a very long time ago. For those of you who maybe grew up in the 90s and lived through the 90s, you understand that Kenya used to be a manufacturing hub. We used to manufacture clothes. We used to have factories manufacturing sugar. We used to manufacture a lot of different things, but because of prescriptions that were given by the IMF, all those are gone, and now foreign companies are the ones supplying goods that we were once making ourselves. Now, the other thing that has happened is that people who are previously employed are now no longer employed, and even worse, we have 53 people with blood on the soil. And who's culpable? IMF. We are not making our president any less culpable, because this is a collusion. This is a collusion, and this problem started before. It wasn't this finance bill. If you just go back on YouTube, from way back in 2018, people have been complaining about these new taxes. They were taxing bread. They were taxing sanitary towels. They were taxing private vehicles. They were taxing everything that they could possibly tax, so that they can raise more money and budget more corruption with themselves. So, without much further ado, there's a couple of other speakers who are still listed here. So far, and okay, I see you're getting some love. We're getting some love from everyone. Okay, we're getting a lot of love. We're getting a lot of love today. So, like I said, the most important reason why we're here is these 53 Kenyans who died as a result of the IMF-inspired tax bill. IMF should be culpable. Meg Whitman is culpable. Joe Biden and the White House is culpable. And there were 7 Congress members who we read their names earlier. They're also culpable for these deaths. They need to release an unredacted report and tell us what exactly they were doing in Kenya while this finance bill was being debated. So we still have a couple of other speakers coming through. Let's give a round of applause. I think we have Val who's coming to speak right now. Makofi tafadhali kwa Val. Makofi tafadhali.
Hey, there you go. Home for Kenya!
Oh, yes. Yes.
Comrades! Comrades! Kenya, viva Kenya! Viva! Viva Kenya! Viva! Viva Kenya! Viva! When we lose our fear, they lose their power. When we lose our fear, they lose their power. IMF! Wakwende ama asikwende? Wakwende ama asikwende? Waanguke nayo ama? Waanguke nayo ama? We're here today to pass a very important message to the IMF. That we are tired of your exploitation. We are tired of your manipulation. And that you should leave Kenya now. For many years we have asked the IMF to stop loaning Kenya money because there is no way to figure out how to account for the budgeted corruption. But they have kept giving us money because of their sole interests. And the reason they do this is like our sister Mrs. Wood said, it's the resources. Na unajua wamepata resources zingine Kenya. Mnajua hivyo? Amjui? Wamepata resources. Just look at what's going on in our national parks and you'll find out why all this is happening. Now, couple of weeks ago on May, the IMF knew, and they knew very well that pushing this finance bill was going to lead to civil unrest. But they kept doing it. And William Ruto, who is so determined to please his Western masters, he is a puppet. He decided that, you know what, this is important for the IMF that it is for Kenya. And we want to tell the IMF today that the 53 debts are on you. Yes. They're on them. Sindio? What's her name? Julia Koza came on TV to tell us that she is sorry. Julia, we want to let you know that we do not accept your apologies because they will not bring our dead back to life. Julia Koza, pack your bags and leave Kenya. We refuse your agenda and all this debt forgiveness. No, that's not what we want. We want an entire cancellation of our debts. Amaje, wanguke nayo sindio? Wanguke nayo sindio? We refuse exploitation. We refuse manipulation. We refuse your imperialism, and we refuse your neo-colonial tactics in Kenya. Wakwende ama wasikwende? Wakwende ama wasikwende? Wakwende ama wasikwende?
All right. Makofi time. Makofi tafadhali kwa Val. Makofi tafadhali kwa Val. All right. I want to thank everyone who's come through today. I know we have people from so many different places. The last time that we were at the embassy, people were complaining joto. So the weather is a bit nicer today. It's not as hot as it was. It's drizzling a bit, but tuko sawa. Wakenya tuogopi mvua. Remember the kids who are out in the streets in Kenya are facing tear gas. They are facing abductions. They are facing snipers. They are facing bullets. They are facing death. So it is very, very important for people to understand, especially the Kenyans who live around the DMV, that we are the only Kenyans in the world who are close by to the IMF, and we are the only Kenyans who can come directly inside the belly of the beast. IMF watoke wasitoke, washuke wasishuke, wakwende wasikwende. And then of course we've been exposing all American entities that have been enabling President William Ruto enforce these toxic IMF policies. And we're saying these 53 names that you see here, IMF, you are culpable for these deaths. I know for a very long time you're so used to people saying, oh, you know, like there's poverty, but now you have blood on your hands. IMF, I want you to read these names. I want you to understand that these people are dead because of the policies you implement, or rather you enforce in collusion with African presidents who don't care about their people. Ruto must go. And then another thing I want to remind all the people in the diaspora, when these politicians come here, I usually see very toxic behaviors. Baba pia ende. Anyone who's enabling Ruto, I mean, you saw what happened yesterday, when last week a cabinet was dissolved, and then they came back and said, oh no, they reversed the dissolution. They brought back some people that they're taken out, and I think this they're testing to see if they can bring back all those other ones, all the other controversial cabinet ministers. This was just a test to see if they can return them. So this is a very long fight.
If you're African and you know it, say IMF must go. IMF must go. Come on in Kenya and you know it, say IMF must go. IMF must go. Come on in Kenya and you know it, say Ruto must go. Ruto must go. I want to start by respecting or showing my respect to the ones that we lost. The reason I hold this is one of my former classmates. This is one of my former classmates, Tuol Deng. We went to Form 1 and Form 2 together. He was 3 years younger than everyone in the class. He was one of the brightest young men that we knew. And he was recently killed in Eldoret. And I had hoped to see him one day, but as fate would have it, as the IMF is complicit in, as Ruto is complicit in, he's now resting in peace because of their actions. And that's why we say Ruto must go, and that's why we say IMF must go. Okay. Another point, today I come with some sad facts, because tumejama hatuwezi sema fun facts, so tunasema sad facts. Sema sad facts. Sad facts. Aya, no country has ever succeeded by relying on the International Monetary Fund policies or loans. Umesikia yoyote? Nirudie. Aya, no country has ever succeeded relying on IMF loans and policies. So they claim to be an economic development organization that helps economies grow, but there is no single economy that anyone can list, and I challenge anyone to find it, whether it's Argentina or Congo or Ecuador. There is no country that the IMF has taken loans from that has actually benefited the country for the better. And that is a fact, but a sad fact. Another sad fact. Since our independence, Kenya has borrowed 22 loans from the IMF. That averages to about 1 every 3 years. So if you're talking in terms of economic development, you can't tell me a country is borrowing 22 times and no development is happening since independence, since the inception of the country, since the independence of the country until now. Almost 60 years has passed, no development has happened. The only thing that has happened is more loans that are getting borrowed. Another thing that people need to understand that we need to bring attention to is the IMF voting power that they have. The way the voting power is determined is by the countries, the member countries' GDP, like trade volume and financial openness. So which means the countries like United States of America, Germany, United Kingdom, France have controlling voting power and therefore influence policies. And if we're talking about colonization, we know France played a big part in it. Sindio, ama nadanganya? We know the United Kingdom played a big part in it. See, they colonized us as well. So how can they be like instituting policies in the IMF that are going to benefit Africa? That is a lie. We are lying to ourselves. And this influence extends to like indebted governments like Kenya, and that's why you see things like the US delegation that was in the parliament while they were discussing the finance bill the other day. That is why you see that. And that is why you see things like Kenya police being sent to Haiti. Can you imagine the DC police being sent to Jamaica to help in conflict? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why is the police, not even an army, the police being sent to another country to help out? And it's against the will of Kenya. This is because of Ruto and his incompetent government. Another thing that we need to understand is this is plain and simple, as people have said, it is neocolonial puppeteering and it's neocolonial imperialism. This is not, it's not here to benefit Africa, it is here to steal from Africa, if you're being frank. Another way that the IMF institutes their policies is with structural adjustment programs. Can you say structural adjustment programs?
Structural adjustment program.
And it's good for you guys to learn this and to talk to your children and to talk to the older generation when you wanajifanya hawezi kuja maandamano. Talk to them as well. They understand this program started from time ya Moi, as some of them know. And it has happened until today. So whether you're young and old, you need to understand these policies and know how bad they are for our country, and you need to make our voices heard all the way to the top of the IMF so they can know that they need to get out of Kenya. And of course this leads to things like the 2024 finance bill that added taxes to cancer treatment and sanitary towels, and it also slows down economic growth. Like Ali was saying, Kenya was starting to be a manufacturing giant around 20 years ago, and that was suppressed by these strict policies that the IMF imposes on Kenya with structural adjustment programs. So what are possible solutions? If you look at the Asian tigers, say many Asian tigers kwanza.
Asian tigers.
Shout out to the Asian tigers. These are countries like Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Now, if you look at 1960, we all had roughly around the same GDP. So Wakenya tunakuwa kwa mbio, tunakuwa kwa Olympics. So tumeanza at the starting line, we were all on the same starting line. Now a country like South Korea is GDP is 10 times bigger than Kenya. It's worth 1.6 trillion when we are at around 150 billion. So how did they grow without? And another fun fact, or sad fact I should say, not a fun fact. Another sad fact is that none of these Asian tigers borrowed from the IMF, with the exception of South Korea, which borrowed once in 1997 and paid it back in 2001. So hapo South Korea wachezi, they're not playing around. They borrowed it and in 4 years they paid it. And that is how, if it must happen, we have to get a loan that it is good for the country and pay it back within 4 years. But with the exception of South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore never borrowed IMF loans, and they all built their country organically all the way until they are now, like Singapore has one of the most powerful passports, and we all know that. And they were the same place with us in 1960s. So why can we do it? See, we're Kenya ni werevu. So we Africans are creative.
Yes, sir.
Aren't Africans intelligent as well? So why can't we do the same? That's what we need to push for people to be educated in civil education, in financial education, and they need to get angry as well. We need more people to make their voices heard. We need more people to bring attention to these policies that are crippling Africa. All right, and then I just wanted to say, to me, in my personal opinion, Viva! To me, in my personal opinion, the IMF are loan sharks. They are handing out unreasonable loans and crippling conditions that trap borrowers in a vicious cycle. And in my eyes, that is nothing short of thievery. So, as our Kenya, now I need your energy here. Wakenya, I need your energy here. Wacha niulize swali wa Kenya, mko? Tupo. Wakenya mko? Tupo. I said that is nothing short of thievery. So, wacha niulize swali. Mwizi akiiba kuku, tunakubali kweli? Na mwizi akiiba shamba tunakubali kweli? Na wezi kama the IMF and William Ruto wakijaribu kuiba taifa letu la Kenya, tutakubali kweli? Haya, that's why I want you guys to follow me with this chant, na nataka tufuatane. Si wote ni you guys are all sharp. Mtafuatilia vizuri? There's a couple steps to it. It's kind of tricky. So, twende pole pole. So tunaanza IMF toka, IMF toka. IMF toka. IMF toka. Zakayo shuka. Zakayo shuka. Wakenya panda. Wakenya panda. Gen Z viva. bana. Are you guys sure mmeshika? IMF. Zakayo. Zakayo. Wakenya. Wakenya. Ya Gen Z. Gen Z. Haya, asanteni.
All right, asante sana. As you all understand, there is a blackface occupation going on right now in Haiti. And this is part of the collusion between the IMF and the White House. And that's the reason why Zakayo has sent our policemen to Haiti on a mission that the American military failed. And they are sending Kenyan soldiers. I'm sure you've been seeing the videos of Kenyan policemen manning embassies, driving around the streets in American Humvees. So we want the people of Haiti to know that we do not support this occupation. Haiti hoye! Haiti hoye! All right, so I want the people of Haiti to know that we do not support that blackface occupation sponsored by President Ruto, courtesy of Joe Biden. This is not Kenyans who advocated for this. This was something that caught all of us by surprise, and hopefully after Zakayo Ashuke, our policemen will also be recalled and they will come back. But we must remember, we are here because of Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. All right, asante sana. So we have another speaker all the way from Pennsylvania. Sana karibia Mike, salimia watu na sile salamu ya Gen Z, salamu tu ile ya kawaida kwanza. Haya, karibia Mike hapo.
Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Kenya wapi? Juu! Kenya wapi? Juu! IMF wapi? Chini! IMF wapi? Chini! Thanks a lot, fellow Kenyans. Thanks a lot, fellow Africans. Thanks so much to everybody who is here to be with us today. First and foremost, my special tribute, my special condolences to the 53 Kenyans and probably many more Kenyans. We are still discovering bodies out there. These are our young heroes who had the bravery and courage to stand to power. Young Kenyans who have seen how the direction our country is heading, and they got the courage to ask the authorities, the powers, why are you doing this to us? And for that, they were killed. We need to be angry enough, Kenyans, and if these words reach out to those Kenyans who are not here, I'm saying we need to be like thousands of us here. The next thing I want to say is this. Kenya, I'm telling the IMF, I have a message to the IMF. Kenya is not your plantation. Yes. Predatory lending practices that you've pursued. We've been with you for more than 50 years. Africa, South America, Asia, the global South. We have seen your conmanship. We know what you're doing. And we have seen you. You can no longer hide. This is Gen Z. These are millennials. These are Kenyans who understand what is happening. You cannot continue to hide. The other thing I want to say, you have a history of discrimination. Today, they come to Africa and they give us this list of conditions to meet. Maybe some of you don't know. They just started giving loans to countries at war. Just the other day. This never used to happen, but now it's Ukraine. And we know the marriage that is there between the West and what is happening in Ukraine. But when we are at war, when we are at our own troubles, they don't come to us. So, what I'm saying is this. They are more than ready to tell us to forget our Linda Mama programs. Yes. They are more than ready to tell us to reduce our health expenditure. They are more than ready to tell us to reduce our expenditure on education. want to mention this one thing. I'm one of those who were there in the 90s in a Kenyan university. The same SAPs, the same structural adjustment programs we have that are causing all this, they've been bringing them to us. What happened then was this. One of the things they decided to do back in the 90s is to cut funding for public universities in Kenya. And for that, some of us who are coming from very poor families knew our education had come to an end. Unlike the Gen Zs of today, we went to the streets and we said no. And for that reason, they shot dead a friend, a college mate by the name Shadrach Opio. I'm mourning Shadrach Opio here in front of this IMF building, and to remind this IMF here that you caused the death of Shadrach Opio. IMF, you are complicit in murder. And I want to also say this to the next government that is coming to Kenya. We need to come with a with a strategic plan that will withdraw us from this World Bank and IMF. IMF wapi? Chini. IMF wapi? Chini. The next message is to Ruto. Yes. And the Kenya government. Yes. Must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. When Ruto assumed power, he had a couple of things he could have done to improve the Kenyan financial situation. He had some low-lying fruits that he could have gone for. He knew there was a lot of wastage. He did nothing. We continue with the same wastage. We continue with unending benchmarking trips overseas. We don't know why they're doing it. Kenya is deteriorating day after day. We need to say an end to all this. His gang of ministers, his thugs ministers, they are stealing right, left, and center, and they don't have. They are not even ashamed of vomiting in front of our feet, showing us those trinkets, expensive trinkets they wear. The other day, Ruto himself was given. He told us somebody in the Middle East paid for his flight to
Hustler jets.
Yes.
That's bribery.
That's bribery. He needs to come clean. Yes. We all know, we are Kenyans, we know. Hakuna fare ya free. What is that you're doing?
Alitumiwa fare.
Ulitumiwa fare. What is that that we are selling? There's no free fare. And you know what you're doing. So, in conclusion, I'm calling on all of you Kenyans who are here, first of all, to congratulate you, and also to encourage you to educate our fellow Kenyans who are out there. This matter is so important. We have a lot of Kenyans. We have a couple Kenyans here from Pennsylvania. Can I see by hand?
Watu wa Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania hoye! Pennsylvania hoye!
So we were motivated enough to come all the way, 4 hours drive all the way here for this. I want you to go out there, talk to all Kenyans. Like Robert said, we need to educate our Kenyans so that they can see. There are Kenyans who are telling me today that they are going to work to do that extra shift in order to support their kids' home, their relatives' home. Yep. What they cannot connect is why they are forced to do all those hours in order to support a broken system. Yep. This is the best way of fixing that broken system. Yes. Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Kenya wapi? Juu! Kenya wapi? Juu! IMF? Chini! IMF? Chini! Thank you so much, fellow Kenyans.
All right, asante sana. Give draft opportunity to welcome Vivian. Vivian, karibu sana. Makofi tafadhali kwa Vivian.
Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Viva Kenya, viva! Viva! Ruto must go! IMF must go! Now, we have lost so many lives in this fight, unnecessarily. So many people, our young people. So so many that we don't even know their names. And we are standing with them, their families, their loved ones. We're standing with our fellow Kenyans back home. And at this point, I'd like to ask everyone with one of these posters, anyone with a poster or a picture, to come forward and line up facing the crowd.
Yeah, line up facing the crowd tafadhali, and then our camera persons, yuko wapi?
In our hearts, Chris, until you meet again.
All right, Chris Hoye. Hoye. Chris Hoye. Hoye. Okay, let's go to the next person.
Eric Kayoni, 27. He was a generous guy, always jovial and smiling. He seemed like one with no bad days. He was very smart with prowess in numbers. He dreamed of working for KPMG and also being an auditor. This is a tribute from his family.
All right, Eric Hoye. Hoye. Eric Hoye. Hoye. All right, let's go to the next person.
My name is Simon W. Mbogwa, a politician back in Kenya, Nakuru County. And I'm holding a young man here by the name Joseph Getao. Getao, he loved people a lot. He was loved as well at home and at school. He was observed child, and we loved him so much. Come on, what am I doing? Okay, time coming to his demise, but he was forever. He will forever be in our hearts. Thank you.
All right, Joseph Hoye. Hoye. Joseph Hoye.
Hoye.
All right, let's go to the next person.
My name is Dr. Wangusi. I'm reading on Chol Deng. He was 25 years old. His other name was Malang. Malang was born and raised in Eldoret, Kenya. He was a very social young man who was easily loved by anyone he interacted with. And this created a community that loved and stood by him till his last day. Today, we have lost an incredible soul that has left such a void in our hearts. But we celebrate every single moment he shared with us. May his soul find solace. This is a tribute from his brother.
All right, Joel Hoye. Hoye. Joel Hoye. Hoye. All right, let's go to the next hero the next fallen soldier.
Hi, my name is Omosh. Some may know me, some may not. Oh yeah, I know you too. This is for Mike Kahuga, 28-year-old who we lost in the demonstrations. To the world, he was a passionate and successful fashion designer, creating timeless pieces that embodied elegance and creativity. And from his father, who sent this tribute out, he said to him, he was so much more. He was my son, a protective shield over our family, always ensuring we felt safe and loved. He was a fighter, standing up for justice and equality, paying the ultimate price during peaceful demonstrations. His bravery and commitment will never be forgotten. Rest in peace, Mike Kahuga.
All right, Mike Hoye. Hoye. Mike Hoye. Hoye. Let's remember, all these people that you see here had a storied life, and now they have parents who are crying because of IMF, or because of an IMF-inspired tax bill. IMF, I know you're watching. Just know you're culpable for these debts, and we hope to hear from you and what you're gonna do about the families that have been left suffering. Let's go to the next hero.
Caroline Shiramba was 35. She was someone's sister, someone's aunt, someone's friend, someone's co-worker, someone's neighbor. May her soul rest in eternal peace.
All right, asante sana. Caroline Hoye. Hoye. Caroline Hoye. Hoye. All right, let's go to our next fallen soldier here.
My name's Atu Kumongi. I'm holding Denzel Omondi Onyango, 23 years of age when he died. He was studying at JU CAT, abducted during the protest, found dead later and dumped in a quarry full of water.
Aya, Denzel hoye. Denzel hoye. Okay, let's go to the next fallen soldier.
Hey, my name is Michael Mukala, Baltimore. So I'm speaking today for Erickson Kialo Mutisia. He was only 25 years old. He was one of the brave young souls that made it to the parliament on June the 25th, and that's when he was shot outside the parliament. He was a happy guy, and even on that day, he had on a white outfit, dancing right before he got shot. He was laid to rest last week on the 12th in Machakos County. May you rest in peace.
All right, Eric Hoye. Eric Hoye. All right, let's go to our next fallen soldier.
My name is Brian. Privileged enough to read the tribute of David Chege, written by his brother Brian, Kenyan Jew. David was not just an elder brother to me, he was my hero, my confidant, and my protector. David had the heart of a lion. He never quit and he never gave up. He used to teach me mathematics, and he did it so effortlessly that I ended up falling in love with math. David was God-fearing and served God diligently from 2008. He was in the last stages of acquiring a visa to take on an IT consulting gig with a firm in Germany. I'll add two more things that are not here. David was 39, twice the age of many people he was protesting with. David was the second person shot. The second body you saw on Parliament, that was David. David had his own company. David was good, David was set, but he was passionate enough to be there on that very day. David's mom on his burial said, "May Ruto never ever know peace. May Ruto never ever know peace." And we hope and pray that him and the international monsters and frauds never ever know peace.
All right, David Hoye. David Hoye. So you heard the story of David, you know, like he's someone who already had his life going, he had his company, but he could see what was happening and he was fighting for the younger population. So everybody in Kenya was affected in this. Let's go to the next fallen soldier.
My name is Nefa with the Black Alliance for Peace and Pan-African Community Action. This is Beasley Kamau. He's 22. He was a selfless human being. We're a people person, a genius, and above all, a courageous person. His family misses him. We all miss you dearly, and we will forever hold you dearly in our hearts. We will make sure our children know that their uncle died a young hero. Fly with the angels, dear brother, and say hi to our papa.
All right, Beasley Hoye. Beasley Hoye. All right, let's go to our next fallen soldier.
My name is also Joseph, here with Black Alliance for Peace and Pan-African Community Action. I'm honoring Andrew Mawasi. He was 36 years old, and I'll be reading a small tribute, a tribute from his brother. His brother says, "You will forever be in our hearts, my loved brother. You were such a joyful, happy soul. May you rest in peace until we meet again." Salute to Andrew Mawasi.
Andrew Hoye. Andrew Hoye. All right, let's go to our next fallen soldier.
My name is Philip Harris. I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm reading a tribute of Masai. 29 years old, was our firstborn. A very calm child, very peaceful and obedient. The only mistake Rex made was to defend the rights of everyone.
Right, Rex Hoye. Rex Hoye. A lot of you are familiar with Rex because Rex was one of the first image that went out there. He was one of the first fallen, he was the first, I think he was the first one, am I correct? Yeah. Yes, he was the first fallen soldier in this struggle. Because remember, this is gonna be a long struggle. It's not gonna go away overnight. So these are just some of the heroes who gave it all up for the sake of a better Kenya. Let's go to the next fallen soldier.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary and I'm standing here holding this. Hi everyone, my name is Mary. Hamjambo, jina langu naitwa Mary Bulo. I'm holding a postcard for one of the youngest fallen soldier. And as a mother, I weep for this family. I weep for the mother. I weep for these children. That Kennedy Onyango was shot 8 times. And the president of Kenya, William Ruto, had the audacity to say that he wasn't shot. Can you imagine? Shame on Ruto. Shame on IMF. Shame. Rest in peace, Kennedy Onyango.
Thank you so much. Kennedy Hoye. Kennedy Hoye. You know, like Mary said, shame on Ruto, shame on all those people who facilitated the deaths of these young soldiers. And anyone who wants to be down with them, shame on them too. So this right here, we want this message to go directly to the International Monetary Fund, that you are culpable for these deaths. These are just about 12. There are 53 as of yesterday that I confirmed, that we could confirm, you know, like from verifiable sources. 53 people dead. And there's hundreds of people who've been abducted. There's quite a number of people who are missing. It's not known where they are. People have been found in quarries, you know, like people have been found on dump sites, you know, like dumped. And there's a number of people who are seen that day when Parliament was stormed, and they've never been seen again. Not their bodies, no trace of them. And then the other thing that's been happening is that the city mortuary has been coerced, and they're writing false reports. They're writing that these kids were in a road accident, or these kids died this way or that way, when it's clearly known that the last place that they were seen was during this protest. So most importantly, we have to stay focused on Ruto must go. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. All right, so we are gonna take a quick music break here. We are coming to a close in the program. We have a lot of people who are coming through, or actually we should come closer now and take a picture. Actually, before we take a picture, let me let Vivian first of all finish this program, and then we're gonna come here, take a big group picture. Okay, go ahead, Vivian.
Before we proceed, I'd like us to have a moment of silence for all our fallen soldiers. Viva our soldiers, viva!
Viva!
Viva our soldiers, viva!
Viva!
Ruto must
go!
IMF must
go!
Their lives were not lost in vain. We shall continue fighting. We shall continue with this struggle.
The IMF!
Down with the IMF!
Whatever the IMF is doing in Kenya is the same thing that is happening in Haiti. We need to protect our land. We need to protect our resources. We need to make sure that we find out who's benefiting from those interests. We need to target those companies. We need to stop purchasing from these companies. Protect our soil, protect our people, protect Kenya, protect Haiti. Viva Kenya!
Viva!
Viva Haiti!
Viva!
See you all tomorrow!
Yo, down with the IMF!
Down with the IMF!
Down with the IMF!
Down with the IMF!
IMF, hiyo debt yenu inatua. IMF, your debt is killing us.
Yes!
It's killing the people of Kenya. So forgive that debt, remove that debt, whatever you have to do, that debt has to go. 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 IMF, you're killing us. IMF, you're killing us. IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
IMF, you're killing us.
Talk about things like neocolonialism. We want to be clear, and about the evolution and the historical development of these institutions. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, these institutions were described and elucidated to us by our dear Pan-Africanist freedom fighter Kwame Nkrumah. He wrote a book. He wrote a book called Neocolonialism, The Last Stage of Imperialism. We all must read that book.
Absolutely.
In that book, he shows how institutions, these international institutions like the IMF and World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, and even US institutions and even their counterparts in Britain and France and all the NATO countries are actually the expressions of what neocolonialism is. They are an adaptation from traditional colonialism to now neocolonialism because they could not withstand our resistance against former colonization. So now they have created what we refer to as compradors, like Ruto, who preside over our countries, and they do not work in our best interest. They only work in the interest of imperialism and neocolonialism. Ruto must go.
Ruto must go.
We also must understand that if we are to create a better world that is free of imperialism and neocolonialism, we must be able to know what to replace Ruto with, and all the Rutos in our African countries and our places around the world. Neocolonialism isn't here in the United States. I'm an African born in the United States. We're colonized. We're not African Americans. We are a colonized population that is oppressed by the settler colonial state, the United States of America, that stole this land and keeps non-white working class people oppressed. They also facilitate and administer neocolonialism against us. All the black mayors, all the black, governors and council people that only uphold capitalism, imperialism, and white supremacy and patriarchy. This is all they do. They are not leaders. And we are not free unless we can build a Pan-African movement that overthrows all the forms and vestiges of colonization, white supremacy, and patriarchy everywhere in the world. This means, and I'll stop here, but if this means that while all the Rutos must go, all of them must go, that we must also at the same time, so they not, because these are some slick IMFs. This is some slick IMFs. They are already planning what to do to keep hold of Kenya after Ruto is gone. They already making plans, and they see that Ruto's days are numbered. We have to know, what are we going to do? What kind of system must we replace it with? A system that takes hold of the land, that takes hold of the resources, and deals with the degradation and the disparity and the despair that our people are facing at the hands of neocolonialism. We must be able to figure out, how do we redistribute land so that people are landless and poor in our countries and our land have it. They have health care and education free, and not something you have to pay fees to by the prescription, what they call the economic structural adjustment programs that are prescribed by the IMF and the World Bank. They're trying to figure out how to continue this. They don't give a damn about Ruto. They are the puppeteers, and we must not be confused to think it is just them supporting a Ruto. They're supporting neocolonialism. And they want to figure out how they're going to continue that. They're slick, and we have to be slicker. We have to figure out what kind of system, a system that is antithetical to capitalism and imperialism, and be ready. No compromise, no retreat.
No compromise, no retreat.
All right, asante sana. So you can see we're getting
Go.
IMF watoke wasitoke?
Watoke.
Washuke wasishuke?
Washuke.
Wakwende wasikwende?
Wakwende.
Ruto atoke asitoke?
Atoke.
Ashuke asishuke?
Ashuke.
Akwende asikwende?
Akwende.
Ruto must
go.
Ruto must
go.
Ruto must
go.
I want to thank everyone who came out here, especially those who came out with their children. Much love, because we have to start teaching them right now. All the ones who have children. Watoto hoye! Watoto hoye! Kina mama hoye! Kina mama hoye! Vijana hoye! Vijana hoye! Vijana hoye! Hakuna vijana kwani? I want to appreciate those who came with their children. Yeah, vijana wana sauti. Ama wanaona haya, they are feeling shy. Haya, vijana hoye! Vijana hoye! Lakini watoto hoye! Watoto hoye! These kids that we see here today, these are the leaders of the future. These are the leaders of the future because they
What do you want to say? Oh, you want
na tukae na undugu, amani na
bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu. Nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda na tujenge taifa letu. Ndio wajibu wetu. Kenya istahili heshima, tuungane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani.